Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our streets where everybody knows your game, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Welcome into another edition of the Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. I am Rob, and I'm here with the one and only Mr. Norton. How have you been, buddy? Been a while.
Yeah, dude, I'm doing good. Been on a little sickness hiatus. Glad to be back with you boys. And
glad to have you back, Norton. Glad to have you back.
For sure,
and
man.
We got an exciting episode tonight. Every Wednesday, obviously, we are doing our buy-sell trades, our waiver wire recap, and one of my favorite segments now. I'm starting to like this one a lot. Do you believe now? We're going to get into that. We're going to have some fun with it. But first, we obviously have the news of the day. Norton, let's get right into it because we got a jam-packed episode.
Missed you too, Tiff.
Always got to miss the Nort when he's not around. Cooper Kupp, designated for return. He was back at practice today. They said limited, but Sean McVay came out and said that he was not going to be limited at all. So that's great news. What does this do for your Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell?
I mean, got to be a downgrade, right? Like, there's no way they can keep up what they've been doing to this level. Now, what level can they be at is the real question. But I mean, I think you definitely got to downgrade all of them considering how involved Cooper Kupp is and will be.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Cooper Kupp instantly plugs into that, 10-ish targets per game. So then the rest of them are fought out between Tutu, Puka, Higbee. So we'll see how it kind of pans out. I think the first game is going to be pretty big to see how it plays itself out. But Matthew Stafford's dealing with a hip, so we'll see if he plays this week. It sounds like he's going to, but something to keep an eye on and monitor throughout the week. Patriots trade for J.C. Jackson with the sensational rookie. Christian Gonzalez is going to be out for the season. Very interesting. There was something going on with J.C. Jackson and the Chargers that we don't really know, but he didn't play last week. He was a healthy scratch, and then trade him this week, so something must have went on. Interesting to say the least, but they got someone to back up Christian Gonzalez with him being out. Jameson Williams is ready to go for his first game back from suspension. What do you think of this?
Exciting. Obviously, this is a guy that people have been waiting on and wanting to see play. Explosive playmaker, guy that people have been anticipating, high prospects. It's going to be interesting to see how he transitions. Obviously, he got that suspension reduced by a couple games, basically the last minute. We didn't know that until last week, end of this week or last week.
It came out of nowhere.
Yeah, pretty random, but he should add another dimension to this offense, which the Lions have been one of the better offenses. Yeah.
I think they need it, though, right? They need that speed wide receiver factor. I mean, Reynolds has been good.
Right. I was going to say he's fine, but he's not a take a top off kind of guy. He can run some deep routes and deep crossers and different things like that. And he's a veteran kind of player, but he's not take the top off a defense.
Look back at last season. DJ Shark was doing great when healthy. And he was kind of playing that that role, take the top off,
Mhm.
Amon underneath. This opens up Amon-Ra a little bit more than what we've seen this season, obviously, because there hasn't been that second guy that can come in and burn. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. Obviously, he played last season and didn't do as well as we all expected, and then he had the suspension this season. So hopefully he can get in there and get acclimated and kind of become another dimension to this offense, because it could be something special with this defense. They can make some noise moving into the playoffs. Another guy coming back, Jonathan Taylor. He was at walkthroughs today with the Colts. Do you expect him to play this week or for the Colts ever again?
Man, this is
it's crazy.
This is such a wild card.
He probably has the widest range of outcome for any player moving forward throughout the season. Like he could be RB1 rest of the season, or he might not play.
Yeah, it's really wild. I kind of it seems like, at least it seems like Shane Steichen wants him to play and wants him back. Like, he's saying everything that we're excited, we want him back, this and this and that. He's saying all the right things. Now, if it's reciprocated on Taylor's end, we'll see. Obviously, he's practicing. I honestly think it's more likely he plays, at least to begin with.
A couple weeks.
Yeah, even if they're trying to, even if like it's almost like a mutual agreement, like, come back, ball out a little bit to showcase, so we can trade you. Like, there may be something behind the scenes with that, because obviously there was a lot of tension between him and the owner, with Irsay. So I do think he's going to end up think he's going to end up playing for them.
Okay,
I've kind of thought that all along, but
if he plays this week, are you playing him in your line? Are you putting him in your lineup?
Dude, this
is what Zach Moss can do.
I know, and that's the thing, is like, you think about it and you're like, man, Zach Moss has been awesome in that role.
Yeah.
And
does that hurt Jonathan Taylor? Like, Zach Moss has been good, so are they just not going to play? Is it going to be a 50-50 share? Is it going to be all Jonathan Taylor like we have seen? Or are they just going to not really play him too much so he doesn't get hurt? If they are trying to trade him. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's wild. Like, anything can happen.
I do think that, I almost think it'd be like a 60-40 him and Moss. Like, that'd be my best guess, is like 60-40 him and Moss if he plays first week back. Maybe give him 12 carries,
couple
2 to 3 targets. Yeah, something like that. And then give Moss like 8 to 10 carries, a couple targets. Like, I kind of think that, I mean, it'd be hard to, it depends. Obviously it really depends on your running back situation. But like, for example, one of my leagues, I'm debating, I have Moss in that league.
I was gonna say, what if you got Zach Moss?
Right, that's the thing. I have Moss. I have CMC, obviously, he's in there, and I have Achen, and so I'm playing those two.
Yeah.
At flex though, at flex though, I could play JT, or I'd have to bench one of DJ Moore, Zay Flowers, Garrett Wilson. So I'm like, do I play him?
Good problem to have.
Yeah. Do I play? Yeah, it's not bad. I'm not upset by it, I guess. But like, do I play him over those guys, or do I just kind of play it safe the first week and bench JT and Moss?
If I'm in that situation, I'm playing it safe.
Yeah, and just playing the other guys and seeing what happens. Yeah, that's how I have it right now. But see, that's the kind of situation where it's like, but then if you're in a situation where you have like Kenneth Walker or Jerome Ford on bye and you're already down, you're already down a guy, you might have to just throw him in there, just hope for the best.
See, the real question to me is like, if you have Zach Moss and you have Taylor, who are you plugging in?
I gotta go Taylor. I think though,
right?
If like Taylor and Moss, it's so wild that we even were saying this in this year after what we've seen from both of these guys the past couple of years.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. But Nort, I think it's time.
Do you believe now?
Do you believe now? Let's get into it. So, Nort, you know the game or the segment that we're doing right now. So I'm going to give you guys 2 from each position that have been interesting throughout the season so far, and I want to get your kind of instant reactions on these players, what you expect from them moving forward. Are you in or are you out on these guys rest of the season? Let's start it out. Josh Dobbs. What a guy coming over from the Cleveland Browns. I love them. QB 14 overall, averaging 21.23 points per game over the last 3 games. I think week 1 he had like 2 points. And then ever since then, he's put up over, I think, 18 points per game in every game. So he's been killing it the last 3 weeks. He looks good. The offense is clicking. What's your kind of outlook for him moving forward?
I think he's a matchup streamer, kind of in 1 QB leagues. I think he's a fine QB2 in Superflex.
Let me step in. Let's not forget he did this against some good defenses.
It is true.
He had the Cowboys, San Francisco. It's interesting.
It is true. He's going out. He's doing big things. I'm not gonna lie. And he's running a little bit too, more than I thought he would. Man. I don't know.
Interesting stat. I think over the last 3 weeks, right, since he kind of went on this tear, his design runs have gone up each week.
Yeah.
This week was like 32% increase in design runs for him. He's had over 40 rushing yards, I think, in the last 2 weeks. I didn't expect that, but it's great for fantasy.
Yeah, for sure. And it'll be interesting to see if that continues. I don't know if it's going to continue. I'm more out than in, probably, I would say. But I'm not completely
what if you
out.
have Trevor Lawrence?
I don't. No, I'm just
saying.
No, I know.
Or some of these quarterbacks that we all kind of Justin Fields, players like that we all anticipated coming. Joe Burrow, those guys that we locked in as top 12s, and they're just not producing.
Yeah, I'm gonna be really interested to see, because I mean, I think I talked to you guys about it when I do my rankings process and stuff, and I always do it like Thursday, like kind of morning, afternoon, and get my initial run through. So I'm gonna be interested to see where he comes out this week, because I have a feeling that guys like Dobbs, Howell, maybe there's one other guy that I was thinking of, are gonna be a little bit higher than usual, and they're going to be in the same range as those guys that you're talking about with Lawrence and Burrow.
Yeah,
I'll probably still have Fields a little bit higher just because of the running factor, and
he's got a good matchup this week.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, he's not going to be as high as I had him heading into the season with Fields. So it's been weird, man. I feel like with the QB play this season.
It has been very weird. Something I don't like, because I had way too much Trevor Lawrence and way too much of Justin Fields. So I'm scrambling at the position. I'm starting Dobbs over Burrow this week in Superflex. I can't.
I've heard a lot of people. I've gotten people DMing me asking me like, am I starting Howell over Burrow? Am I starting Dobbs over Burrow?
How can you trust him?
Yeah, honestly, it's tough, dude.
He just had the juiciest matchup.
Yeah.
In the NFL, and didn't do anything with it. So until he proves that he's healthy, like how can you? Yeah. They fumbled the bag. Yeah. Cincinnati fumbled the bag.
They should have sat him early on.
First 2 weeks we wouldn't
even Chase. It sounded like they were going to. The way Chase talked early in the year was like, we don't care about the first whatever amount of games. We just want him back for whatever. And it sounded like, he's going to sit, And then, no, they throw him out there. He's struggling.
Yeah,
now they probably wish they did.
Sucks to see.
Yep.
Brock Purdy coming in at QB 12 overall right now. Top 12 quarterback in 3 of the 4 games this season. What is your outlook moving forward on Purdy? I know you're a fan. Right, you're a pretty big fan of Brock.
I was a Lance guy.
Am I wrong with that? Yeah, that's right.
I was a Lance guy, so I was rooting against him. I gotta say, but he's the other one that I was just trying to think of when I was just thinking about the guys that we had that were underrated heading into the year. Purdy, I'm more in on than Dobbs. Obviously, he's been slightly better. He might run a little bit less, but the weapons around him are just so good, and the scheme is so good. Like that's the thing that I know I catch a lot of heat on Twitter and things like that about Lance. Like I hear it from different people all the time. Well, the thing is like it's not like I loved Lance specifically. Like this is kind of like the same thing last year when Mario and I were talking about Lenny Fournette. I didn't really love Fournette. I just loved the role. Like I just loved Lance's ability to run and the scheme that would be around him. Like I feel like most QBs can succeed in that scheme. I think Purdy is better than people give him credit for at this point. Like I think he's proven that he's better than, the 7th round pick. Like he looks pretty solid, honestly.
Completion percentage is insane. Like he was 20 of 21 this week. He just looks good. Like you said, the weapons are there. The scheme is there. I'm interested for him the rest of the season. Curious where he's going to finish out.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure.
Isaiah Pacheco, RB11 overall, weeks 1 and 2, 8.8 points per game. Weeks 3 and 4, 20.3 points per game. Is this a flash in the pan, or are you sold on Isaiah rest of the season?
I'm more out than in. It's tough. Like I don't know. Like my motto when it comes to like most late round running backs is like they can do it for a stretch and then kind of move on. But
that's why you killed my Dame Pierce love.
I know. Yeah, that's what I was before the year with Dame Pierce, one of my big bugaboos with him. But yeah, I mean, Pacheco has so one thing I will give Pacheco that before the year, I was just like, I was completely out.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I didn't like is that he was not catching passes. He's not running routes. And now he seems to be doing that at least well enough to sustain. I kind of think it's like, I don't know about you, but it feels like every year they head into the year almost like they're like, oh, we're putting McKinnon in bubble wrap, saving him for late in the season, last couple weeks, ramp him up and get him ready for postseason. Like he's like their secret weapon in the postseason. Like that's what it feels like all the time. And then in the beginning of the year, they just run Pacheco.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
feel like we're on that trajectory again, but I mean, that doesn't really matter for us right now in fantasy. But yeah, I'm still more out than in. I don't think he's going to be RB11 when it comes all said and done. I think he's going to be outside the top 20.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're gonna get into him a little bit later, but
okay.
Just wanted your initial thoughts because I'm curious on him. He's an interesting one. Another interesting one that I think we're all pretty high on, Ramondre Stevenson, RB24 overall right now. Weeks 1 and 2, 15 points per game. Weeks 3 and 4, he's only had 6.6 points per game. What are you thinking with this backfield?
Frustrated. That's what I'm thinking. Like he's so much better than Zeke. I feel like dude, Zeke looked so washed, and then he had like one. I think it was like week 3 where he had like 15 or 18 carries and like looked a little bit more juice.
That sloppy game though. It was it was the perfect Zeke game.
Yeah,
like just a mess, low scoring game, grinded out because of the weather.
But I would say I'm more in than out on Stevenson. I mean, it might be a little like preseason bias, I guess, because I was more in than out with him. I just think he's like a really good receiving back. And I do think like I'm not a big fan of Mac, but I do think like any kind of like more statue type QB is good for pass catching running backs because they're going to be checking down more often. So I still think Stevenson, and I haven't checked like the route participation on him. I know it's been down a little bit compared to last year. But also last year was like a full 3 down work roll. So like it's going to be, all of it's going to be down a little bit, but I still think this is a top 15, top 12, maybe even.
So is he somebody you're trying to go get?
I think so. I will. I say that I did send out offers for him, like trading him away today. So
okay,
but it was the context being that it's a 10-team league. I feel pretty like good. I have CMC as my other running back, so I was trading like Ramondre plus a wide receiver that was like I had like 4 or 5 wide receivers trying to upgrade Ramondre to like Josh Jacobs or something. But like, so it's not that I dislike Ramondre. I still have him probably like 12th or 15th rest of the season. So like, it wasn't like I was doing that for many running backs. It was just that was an area where I felt like I could try to do a 2-for-1.
So rest of the season, Ramondre or Pacheco?
Ramondre for me.
Boom. Adam Thielen going off. Wide receiver 11 right now. Over 15 points per game in the last 3 weeks. I think he left week 1 injured, if I'm remembering that correctly. I think
so.
He only played certain snaps in that. So since he's been full go, he's had 15 points per game at least in those 3 games. Where are you at with him?
I need my dude to let me know where the fountain of youth is. God damn. Right. You know what I mean?
He looks great. He looks so much better than last season.
Unbelievable, dude. I cannot. I saw someone tweeted out said something like Adam Thielen looking completely washed running a ton of routes next to Justin Jefferson, getting lesser coverage, and then looking like an alpha in a Dalton Bryce Young led terrible offense. Is the weirdest turn of events in fantasy football this year, and they said something like scholars will study this for centuries, and like to try to figure it out, and no one will ever figure it out. Like,
I traded him away in all my dynasty. I had him in a bunch of dynasty leagues.
Dude, I tried to. People wouldn't even give me people wouldn't even give me thirds, dude. They wouldn't even give me thirds. I was like, I literally before the year, I was like, dude, this dude is washed. I just want anything. I want him off my team. Offered him up for. I literally went through every single person's team in one league and offered him up for a third. Rejected every single one, and I was like, yeah. And now I'm starting.
It's crazy.
It's a weird thing.
So, what do you think is going to happen the rest of the season? Like, do you think this is going to maybe not at this clip, but do you think he's flex the rest of the season?
Yeah, probably. I think he's probably flex worthy at least. I still think he's going to be outside. Like if I had to rank rest of the season, I'd probably rank him outside my top 30.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I definitely, if someone thinks he's going to be a top 2, even like a top 24 receiver, definitely sell for that value, I think. But into that 25 to 36 range, that's where it's tough.
Yeah, I got you. I get it. He is somebody that like I just keep looking at the numbers every week and I'm like, what the hell is going on in Carolina where they figured this out with this dude?
It's weird, man.
Came out of nowhere.
So weird.
Another weird one. Gabe Davis, wide receiver, 28 overall, 15.5 fantasy points per game in the last 3 weeks. What are you thinking? I think he's had a touchdown in 3 weeks in a row. Do you think this is just like based off of the touchdowns, or do you think that they're actually trying to get him more involved than they were last year? Or is it a combo of like Josh Allen's finally his elbow's fully healthy, that they're moving the ball downfield a little bit more? Like, are you in on him for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's kind of like a combination of all three. I don't think necessarily they're trying to get him maybe a little more involved than last year. Like, but I kind of coming into the season, like I liked Gabe Davis as a value this year because I think last year everyone hyped him up.
So inflated.
I think were you on the pod with Florio?
Yes.
Yeah, and he was talking about it, like where Davis was like a guy who was so inflated last year, and then we see that recency bias. He kind of burned people, quote unquote, burned people, and then now his ADP drops multiple rounds, and now he's where he's almost like a value because he's going maybe where he should be or around his floor. He's probably going to outperform it because he's going to have spike weeks. He's kind of like your perfect wide receiver 3 flex player where you throw him in knowing the floor is pretty low, but the ceiling is really high in a great offense. He's going to have those big weeks. I think I am perfectly fine. Like I have him in a few leagues. I like rolling him out there as like my wide receiver 3 or flex type of spot. No, you just know what he is though. He's a roller coaster. I think he is what he is. If he didn't have Diggs, I think we could see a higher target share, but Diggs is such a monster that like he's never going to have big target share with Diggs.
Yeah, I think you're right. After that Florio conversation, I really kind of reevaluated how he looked at Davis. And I ended up with a ton of him this season, just like getting him as my wide receiver 4 or 5 even, because he was slipping that far. And turned out to be great value. And I'm curious to see if this continues. And I think it will be something like this. Like, I think he'll finish right around this spot. He's going to have those boom weeks. He's going to have some weeks where he doesn't do too much. But like you said, you got to know what you're signing up for when you plug him into your lineup.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting, I saw a chart today. I think it was Hayden Winks. He puts out every week like offensive kind of projections, which like basically like it's like a chart of like pace versus projected scoring. So obviously further top right, you want to be, because then it's faster pace, higher scoring, clearly better offenses in that case for fantasy purposes. There's like 5 elite ones, and obviously Buffalo is one of them, but it's like clear cut. Like they're just like in a different stratosphere.
That's the thing, right? Like he's in such a prolific offense that's going to throw the ball a ton.
Exactly.
He's the clear cut number 2 on this offense. We all thought Kincaid was going to kind of take away from him, and he hasn't yet. So
yeah,
I think Gabe's going to do what Gabe did 2 seasons ago, right? Like that's what we all kind of wanted last year, but there were a lot of things. Gabe had an ankle injury. Like we said, Allen's elbow was an issue. He couldn't push the ball downfield as much accurately as we're used to, and now everything's kind of lining up for
100%.
Gabe to have a decent season.
Yep, I like it.
So Gabe or Thielen the rest of the season?
Give me Gabe. I'd rather have Gabe.
Boom. Jake Ferguson, tight end 8 overall. He's had 7 targets in 3 of the 4 games. He's looking pretty decent right now with this tight end landscape. Where are you at with Mr. Jake Ferguson?
Love him. Like just absolute love him, dude. Like Mario, it's funny because I remember the first week, first waiver wire week, Mario and I, we were doing, and he was like all in on Jake Ferguson. Like he was just all in. I was a little bit more hesitant. I had him second. I think I had Musgrave first and then Ferguson second.
Ooh.
And yeah, your boy, which I still like. But dude, Ferguson's usage is insane. Like for tight end right now. And like you said, he's tight end 8. Nobody's been good aside from the top 3, really. Dude, I mean, if his route participation ticks up over 70%, I'm willing to put him top 6 rest of the season.
Okay. I mean, we've seen it with this. Mario hit this, he hit it on the head, right? Like the Cowboys over the last 5-6 seasons with Dak Prescott being there, they utilized their tight end. And it was just like this season coming in, there were 3, like, who's it going to be kind of guys, right? Like the rookie coming in, they had 2 from last year. Jake Ferguson looked good last year, but we still weren't sure what was going to happen. Ferguson took this role. He's running with it. Obviously, you have to kind of monitor, like, if he continues, his target share and all that sort of stuff. Like, if he's getting 7 targets a week, you have to play him. Like, you have to play. I'm playing him over Darren Waller this week.
Yeah, I would too.
Like, there's no options.
And I'm sure you have him over Pitts too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude. I do too. Oh, yeah. I mean, everyone knows how much I love Pitts. So,
dude, Jonnu Smith is getting more targets.
It's the worst.
Speaking of Darren Waller, let's get into some Darren Waller right now. Tight end 12 overall, finished outside tight end 15 in 3 of 4 games. Nort, me and you were the 2 Darren Waller like pound the table guys.
Yep.
Where are we at?
It's ugly right now.
Are we full panic?
I don't think we're Kyle Pitts panic. But I mean, the fact that he's tight end 12 with how bad he's been shows you how bad tight end is.
Yes.
He's still in my top 12.
Okay.
He's still in my top 10, I'd say.
It's weird, right? Because he's tight end 12, and it's like we look at each other and like it cannot get worse.
Right.
You can't.
That's how it feels, man. That's how it feels. I
Mhm.
have an interesting one for you. Now that we're on Waller, someone dropped Waller in one of my leagues. It's a 10-teamer. I have Pitts. I got to put in, right? Like,
Yeah.
but like,
Yeah, you have to.
put in to drop Pitts because like I could drop.
Do you have anyone else droppable?
My worst player on my bench is Jahan Dotson. I still have to drop.
Are you ever gonna play Jahan Dotson? Like, do you have too
I'm
many
not,
receivers?
the thing is, I have to drop Dotson or another bench player for a kicker or defense, one of the two.
Oh, that's the worst.
So my next worst is Jordan Addison, I think.
I don't think you could drop Addison.
So that's the thing. It's like I would drop Dotson, and then I gotta drop Pitts.
See,
probably.
I'll tell you, I think I'm more. It's weird. This is weird. I think I'm more in on Pitts rest of season
Really?
than Waller, because the only reason I'm saying that, we see the target share, we see the route participation, average depth target, all that sort of stuff with Pitts. I'm anticipating a QB change there at some point.
Boy, I hope.
And I mean, if Drake London and Pitts can get a quarterback that can get them somewhat accurate targets, like the deep field, I think the target, it's still like 50% catchable pass rate.
It's bad
in Atlanta.
Dude.
It's like worse than last season. It's like worse than last. They cannot continue to run out Ritter if they are serious about making the playoffs. Like, they can't do it. And it's going to have to happen soon. I don't know when their bye week is. I'd have to look that up just to see.
Later, I think it's like 11 or 13 or something.
So you would think they'd have to do it before then. I don't know if they have a long week to kind of get him acclimated, but just with how bad Ritter's been passing the ball, I understand that they're winning, and well, now they're 2-2, right? Like, they won the first 2 games, they lost the last 2.
Yeah,
and it's a clear reason why, right? Like,
yeah,
it's quarterback play. They can't move the ball down the field. They can't give it to Bijan every single play, even though they're trying to, which is great for fantasy.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
I'm anticipating a QB change, and when that happens, I think we could see some really good stuff from Pitts.
Yeah, no,
Waller's I'm stuck with Daniel Jones.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm hopeful for the QB change to Heineke.
I think that's what we'll see.
That's the thing, dude. With Waller, I'm still in-ish. My biggest worry is the fact that I don't know if he's fully healthy. We had the whole stuff about him early in the year, and then all of a sudden he's like there was worry about how injured he was or not, and then he's playing. Now we have the worry about
Falcons by week 11. I would think they would do it before then.
They got to do it before 11. Like, dude, they can't keep this up. But yeah, with Waller too, I wonder too. The O-line has been bad, so I mean, I haven't checked his
worse
block rate and stuff to see if he's been blocking more. But
that's the thing too, right? Like,
because that's what happened with Higbee last year after a great start.
Yeah, that was the worry with Kittle coming in this season.
Yep. That's why I put Waller ahead of Kittle.
Yeah. I mean,
and now I'm like,
I'll tell you, dude. Here's just the way I'm going to sum this up with Darren Waller for me.
Okay.
I went into Monday night up 8 points, and he had Darren Waller left. And I said, okay, I think I got this in the bag. Yeah. That's where I'm kind of at.
Yeah, dude.
Or I was like, I'm like 70-30. I think I got this.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what it feels like right now.
And I got it. I got the dub. So thank you, Darren Waller. But for the rest of my teams that I have him on, take 2 of these, you know?
Yeah, for sure, dude. For sure.
I think is that it? Oh, waiver wire finds. Let's get into some waiver wire finds. What was your who were the guys that you kind of went for this week? It was kind of a light week. Not too many players. But who were the guys you went for?
Yeah, this week, like you mentioned, it was kind of a light week. I always tell people when it's a light week like this, personally, I
Save your
save
money.
save my fab, save my waiver priority. So if I was like top
Mhm.
4, top 5, honestly, I didn't put in waivers in almost any of my leagues. Like I was just I waited till the waivers ran. If guys were available, I went through like my lists basically of guys I'd want to pick up and see who did not get claimed. So like the two hot names were Jaleel McLaughlin and Michael Wilson. I did put in some like fab and waivers in deeper leagues for those guys. I didn't put them in for any of my 12 teamer smaller leagues. I don't think I put in a waiver for any of them. But Wilson probably was the guy I probably put the most in for. I just felt like between him and McLaughlin, if I needed running back help right now, then sure. But I felt
I
like
don't think
Wilson
he'll keep it.
Yeah, Wilson, I felt like had longer term appeal between the two. So he was probably the one I did the most, I guess. But again, I pretty much waited till all my stuff ran. And then this morning when I got up, I just ran through my leagues, looked to see if I had expendable bench guys, looked to see if either of those guys were out there. Some of them still, like some of the leagues, they still were out there, and I just picked them up for free. So, what about you?
There were a couple guys. I'm with you. With this week was like, I didn't love it for waivers, so I was very picky with what I did, and I only went for players that I thought had no business really being there in some leagues. Like I've been talking about, I had Darren Waller in a lot of leagues. Jake Ferguson was in a few leagues floating around, so I went for Jake. Zach Ertz was around in a couple leagues, so I went for those. Were the guys I kind of went for, and then Romeo Dobbs was in a couple, like a 10-teamer league. He was in there, and I think he was in one other league. So those were the guys, like you said, that I didn't love what I saw from those players that were like Michael Wilson. And like, I think they can be good, but I'm not willing to risk fab on it.
Exactly.
I'd rather wait and save it
Mhm.
for somebody else. And then I went for some of the guys where I was like, they shouldn't be here, like
Right.
they should be picked up. So I went for those guys instead.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I try to save my waiver priority, save my fab, and wait for something better.
That's the thing, because so we've already seen this year, we've seen actually a lot of hits of the top guys. Like thinking back on the waiver wire for the past few weeks, we had Achain as one of the top guys the 1 week, and he was like an empty the fab kind of guy, clear hit right now. We had Kyron Williams in week 1, and he was a clear hit. Gainwell was like a guy that was like, but he was probably not a hit at this point because he got hurt and then didn't play, and then Swift took over. So who knows, if he didn't get hurt, maybe he was a hit, right? Then we had Puka in week 1, clear hit. Like we've had dudes that pretty much, Jerome Ford. I feel like
still out there.
Yeah, that's still up in
the verdict's still out.
Yep, I still think his, given what we've seen of his usage and what he's given you in tough matchups so far, I'm okay with having spent on Ford, and he has one of the easiest schedules down the stretch too. So we'll see how that one plays out. So I think honestly, that's the thing, is like we've seen a lot of these guys that we've recommended as heavy bids hit. You know what I mean? I want to save the money for those guys, because here's the thing: is like future weeks when we see running backs go down, like if we don't want to see it, but it's going to happen, I'm sure. Now, if any of those guys have big name guys, or at least guys
serious,
and someone behind them who we think can do it, like a Tank Bigsby, Tajay Spears, Zach Charbonnet. If those guys are going to be the same as we've talked about with the other guys before, the empty the fab kind of guys, those are the guys I'm trying to save the fab and the waiver priority for. Let other people use their fab and waiver priority now. You're going to have the hammer later on. That's the way I go about it.
I think you're right, because what we saw a splash week from Michael Wilson. Obviously, it was good to see, but banking on that. He's the number 3 option there behind, I would say, behind Ertz and Marquise Brown.
Yeah.
And then James Conner gets a ton of targets as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then McLaughlin, like you're paying for a rental, right? Like he looked good. Don't get me wrong, and he might have some value moving forward, but it's not going to be what some of these other guys could be down the stretch. If, like you said, if somebody gets hurt and is out multiple weeks, like Shavonte could be back this week. We don't know.
Right.
So spending on someone where you don't know like how long you're going to be able to even play them, it's not really worth the risk.
Yeah, and one of the things I am regretting a little bit this week is Ferguson was out there in a couple leagues of mine, or I would say a few. I put in a waiver claim for him in one of them, and I didn't in the others, just because I had in those leagues I had Pitts and Waller, and I was like, I don't want to spend the high waiver priority on him, but I was like, I do want him. Part of me is like kind of regretting not putting in the claim, but because I do like I said, I do like him a lot.
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't know if this is like a game changer type thing where and like, but the thing is like, that's the risk when you do have like waivers instead of fab, like, and you got to make that decision. If you're a high waiver priority, I may never run across a game changer type if guys stay healthy or don't get big injuries and things like that. I may not run across one, but being this early in the season, I was like, I don't want to use a top priority on Ferguson. If he clears waivers, I'll grab him. I don't know. We'll see if I regret it or not, because I do like him. So I've been kind of second guessing that all day, honestly.
I get it. And I think I guess it depends on your tight end.
It's Pitts in both of the leagues that I didn't put a thing in for. And it's like,
yeah.
And that's like, I feel like I'm running into the same situation as I did last year with Pitts, where I had a lot of them and I just held on and held out hope for too long and passed up on like breakout guys, and then screwed myself over.
He's somebody I want on my roster. If I can play somebody else.
Yeah, that makes,
you know what I mean?
It makes
sense.
I
want him just sitting there in the wings waiting to go. Once that QB change happens, I'm plugging him in. I think it'll be a top 5.
I'm hopeful, man.
But we'll see. We'll see if they do it. Who knows? We don't,
For sure.
Oh, it sucks. But let's get into some buy-sell trade ideas. Norton, who is a player you're going out and getting right now?
Christian Watson. We've talked about it
3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, at this point. And I think we're getting to the point where you're not going to get them for cheap like anymore. Like, and that's why we've been hammering it for the past couple weeks. I mean, we saw him return last week, and he didn't do great. He had a touchdown, but he was also playing in a limited role. I didn't check his route participation, but I know they limited his snaps and routes. So, and we saw Romeo Doubs have a good game, and I think, and we've seen Jaden Reed flash. And
Tiff says, "You sure? Did you all see us play last week?" We did. Wait till you hold on, because there's more coming.
I know, right? And so yeah, I still just really believe in his talent. He was wide receiver 8 last year. As soon as after he got healthy and had a full-time role. Jordan Love has played better. I mean, he didn't have a good game last week, but played better than I've expected to this point in the season. And like I mentioned, Doubs and Reed have played well, and produced well enough. And I think Watson is a different level from them as an athlete and a talent. So I do expect him, like, I don't think you have to pay a lot to get him, because people are going to see, oh, he came back, he didn't really get a lot of targets and this and that. People have probably frustrated the fact that they've been waiting so long, getting impatient.
Stay. You'll be happy.
Yeah. So Watson's a guy I'm definitely trying to get. I mean, for what it's worth, I have him in like a ton of leagues already, so I don't really have to go out there and get him, because I did go out there and look.
I've been trying, dude. It's tough market.
Yeah, it's weird too, because I would think that a lot of the people who have Watson probably, I mean, I would expect, unless they got Puka or maybe a Tutu or something, like they probably haven't been doing well because that was, their third, fourth, fifth round guy, depending on the league format.
I tell you, dude, some home leagues are you either get people that are really interested in trading or they just hold on to their team that they drafted.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
No one likes to make moves, especially like smaller moves,
Yep.
Like I've been trying to make some trades with people, but it's there's either like there's managers that will make the move, and then in home leagues there's a lot that won't even think about it.
Oh, for sure.
Unless you pay like way too much. So it's tough to try to get that balance in a home league because some people just don't know what like a good trade value is,
Yeah, it is tough because it is. I mean, there's so much up and down. So Tiff says, I'm in a fantasy football depression this year, guys. Both my leagues are so bad. Tiff, it's the
early.
encouraging part is it's only week 5. You're only 4 weeks in. You're only 4 weeks. Even if you're on 4, you still got a shot. Keep grinding.
We'll
trying to make it.
That's a good question. Would you rather have Nico Collins or Christian Watson? I'm going Nico.
Man,
he's been great.
I hate this because I was high on Nico too before the year, but I was really high on Christian Watson. I'm going to say I'm going to cop out with I'm going to hit him with a cop out answer of
I get it.
If you're
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, if you're like 2-2 or under, I would say, and you need to win, and you need a guy now, Nico. If you have the ability to, if your lineup, if you have a lot of good receivers, and you're like 2-2, maybe you're 2-2 or better, and you have a lot of receivers that you'd feel fine with, I'd prefer the upside of Watson and getting him to see. Because because as good as Nico has been, I don't think Nico has top 8 level upside we've seen Watson do for a half season when he was healthy.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Nico's the safer play, right? Like I think he's the safer play of the two. Watson could be a league winner if things start clicking. Yeah, so that's kind of what you got to decide, like what you need. Like Norton said, if you have 3 receivers you're comfortable playing that could do well for you, it might be worth the risk. But if you don't, and like Nico's your wide receiver 2, it might be tough to make that move.
Yeah. Like, I guess I would use my example earlier. Say I have in that league, I have Stephon Diggs, Garrett Wilson, Zay Flowers, and DJ Moore. But say instead of Zay or DJ, I had Nico, right? I'd be fine moving Nico to get Watson in that situation, knowing I have the other guys that I could just start, and I have other flex options as well with those running back situations. So I'd feel fine moving him in that situation. But like you said, if you're in a situation where if you had a Cooper Kupp and he's been out all season for you, and you have Christian Watson, that may be something where you move Watson to get Nico.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it too. I think it's a fair trade.
Yeah, it really is.
Right? That's pretty on point. Like a Nico for Watson.
Yeah.
I've offered DJ Moore for Watson. I've offered Pittman for Watson.
Yep. And I think that's all. They're all in that range, I think.
Yeah. Speaking of another Green Bay wide receiver, one of my buys this week is Romeo Doubs. And I think there's some really good things in Green Bay for fantasy football. There's some good stuff happening there. Doubs has had over 18 points in 3 of the 4 weeks. I think 2 weeks ago he had a little rough game, but other than that, he's been really good. He's getting a ton of targets in this offense. I think he's really solidified himself as that number 2 wide receiver behind Christian Watson. But I think it's also going to be somewhat of a something that we see in Philly, right? Where it's AJ Brown is kind of that big play and doesn't really demand a ton of targets. And I think that's kind of the Christian Watson role where Doubs is going to play that Devontae Smith role where he's going to be more of that possession receiver, shorter kind of targets, but going to be valuable for PPR, and I think he's also kind of solidified himself as a really good end zone target for this offense. He's hauling in touchdowns. He looks really comfortable in the red zone. Jordan Love is looking his way, with that back shoulder fade. It looks like they got a really good connection doing that. So I was sold on Jaden. Oh, Tiff. I was sold on Jaden Reed beforehand. After watching the last 3 weeks, I guess, and kind of compiling everything and looking at all the data, I think it's going to be Dobbs. I think he's going to solidify himself as that number 2 and make some noise in the end zone and get some touchdowns. And Watson coming back, I think, lowers his trade value, right? So I think you can go get him for something not crazy. And I think he could kind of keep producing at a pretty decent clip.
Yeah, it was interesting when I saw earlier, like right as I was leaving work, I was finishing up the outline and stuff, and I saw you had him on here, so I was interested to see, because I've been a vocal against Dobbs. Like,
yeah, I know, yeah,
because but
I'm switching my tune.
I'm not switching it as hard as you are. But I will say, and it's been the last 2 weeks for me that kind of have switched it, because, dude, the first 2 weeks, Dobbs was 67% routes and 78% routes. Okay. And I was like, okay, Reed is almost on par with him, but destroying him in target percentage and targets per route run. Like, the target per out run for Dobbs, 25 and 14% first 2 weeks. Reed, 25 and 33%. And then Dobbs, 19% target share, 13% target share, 19%, 26% for Reed. The thing is, week 3 and 4, Dobbs jumped to 86% and 88% route run, 26% target per route run, 35% target per route run, 26% target share, 38% target share. The last 2 weeks, that's like totally switched between him and Reed.
Yep.
And it's got me rethinking, because I do personally, I think Reed is a more talented. I just think Reed is a more talented receiver. I think he's a better, I think his prospect profile is better. I think everything about his profile is better until the last 2 weeks.
That's why I was all in on Jaden, because I just think he's the better receiver.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. Now I'm like kind of rethinking what I'm doing, because, dude, those levels are pretty great for Dobbs the past 2 weeks. And I do think
obviously Watson was on a snap count, right?
Yeah, he was only 48% routes last week. So,
but I think he's solidifying himself as that number 2 right now.
Yeah, he's starting to, if that could trend continues. Yeah.
But if he continues to show up and produce how he's producing, because he's been good, right? Why are they gonna mess with it?
That's the thing. And if the problem becomes, like, I think where this is a great call by you is that right now, like you said, the expectation is that, okay, Dobbs had a week or two, and now Watson is supposed to be back to a full-time player. So now we're going to expect a decrease. Mm-hmm. If you can, so the price probably, like you said, goes down on Dobbs.
Yeah.
So if you can get him, and these trends continue of what he's doing the past 2 weeks, you're going to get him at a discount.
Yeah,
flat out.
You can get him at a discount, and I think he's flexible rest of the season if this continues, right? And I don't think you would be giving up too much to go get him, where if it doesn't work out, like, I still think you're fine. Like, you're not going to give up. Like, you're not trading Christian Watson for Romeo Doubs. You're not doing that.
Right.
Like, you can go get him for something. Like, if you need a receiver and you're good on running backs, like, I would trade. Like, would you trade Jerome Ford for him straight up?
I prefer Ford still, but
I think it's. Yeah, I mean, I think it's.
I can understand it though if you're good on.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if he's your 4th running back, like right now he's my 4th running back because I picked up a chain. I picked up Kyron. I don't know how I got all these guys, but it just fell in my lap where it worked out.
Yeah.
Or, trying to think what you would be able to give up. Like, dude,
I think you could honestly give up a lesser. I'm trying to think of a lesser running back, like Khalil Herbert.
Stuff. Yeah.
You could probably give up Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, something like that.
Because I think that's a close call. I mean, if you're running back needy, dude, you even mentioned Dobbs was on a wires and something. I think
That's what I'm
Dobbs
saying.
is on
Like,
a
I
wire
wanted to
and one of
give
my
an
smaller.
option. Yeah, I wanted to give kind of an option for something less than just like a boom trade, because those are tough to do in home leagues.
Yeah.
Like making those big splash, big name players. Like I
Yep.
think you can go get, like, I would trade DeAndre Hopkins for Dobbs. I would go do that.
That's bold. I don't know if I would do it, but I mean,
I would.
I can't blame you for not. I can't blame you, honestly.
Yeah, something like that, or a player that holds name value, that the outlook's not looking great, that you can go get. Like, I think there's plenty of options out there, like Tutu Atwell, maybe. Like you might be
Yeah.
able to flip Tutu Atwell for
Do you-
him, something like
Do you
that.
want Thielen or Dobbs the rest of the season?
Interesting question.
Throwing it back to the beginning.
Thielen, yeah, I think Thielen's got that number one role in the offense. So I think
that's a
I'm
close
still
one
going
for
to go
me.
with Thielen, but it's close.
Yeah,
You know,
I think
like it's
I
close
think
enough where I'd think about it.
I probably have Thielen slightly, but
Slightly ahead. But I think Dobbs finishes inside the top 30 wide receivers.
yeah, he
by the end of
definitely
the year.
could, dude. He definitely could.
So, like, he could be flexible for you the rest of the season. I'm saying if you can give a piece that you're not really worried about giving up for him, because I think there's, like, you can work that trade where you're like, Christian Watson's back, Musgrave's kind of a thing in this offense. They looked so bad last week. Like,
Yep.
there's enough that you can kind of convince someone to give him away.
Yeah. And he could be a piece where if you're in you could also be almost like a throw-in piece and as a second piece of a trade.
Which is it's probably more realistic of like a throw-in piece.
Right.
Like if you need, if your team isn't deep, like you can go trade one of your bigger players for Dobbs and like somebody, like a
right
RB2. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like that could be
right,
that
for sure.
That could be a work in that way.
Yep.
But I think he's going to be, I think he's going to be good the rest of the season. He's demanding targets. And like I said, especially in the end zone, where I think he'll be good. And I think there's better days ahead for this offense. I really do. And if Joe Barry's the defensive coordinator there,
I think,
right? It's Joe something. If he continues to suck how he sucks, like they're going to be throwing the ball a lot.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's just thinking of one, like, you think you could do like a Kyron Williams for Swift and Dobbs?
That's something that's interesting.
Yeah, like I think that could be a realistic option. Yeah, like, and if you're in need of a receiver and you have Kyron, you may be able to pull something like that.
Kyron's an interesting one. That
he really is. I don't know what to do.
I don't either. But go on, give me another guy you're trying to go out and get.
My boy Anthony Richardson. Been hyping him all the time.
Bag up for him.
Probably, honestly. Superflex or 1 QB. I'm trying to get him if I can. He's top 5 for me at this point, rest of the season. I don't think people are valuing him that. I don't think most people have him top 5. Maybe they do at this point. I don't know. I mean, the only ones I would say are for sure ahead for me, like locked and load ahead, are probably 2 guys. Hurts and Allen. And like after that, I mean, I could make a case for Richardson as high as 3, honestly. So I think he's averaging nearly 27 points per game, like per 4 quarters, like because that game he left early. He already had like 19 points or something. Yeah. Something like it was crazy. And but per 4 quarters, he's averaging like 27 points per game, which that's clear cut QB1, like overall. He's just nasty. He runs a ton. He's been better as a passer than probably anyone could have expected. And yeah, I mean, he has a coach that's clearly good at designing for running QBs. So I'm fine with, like I said, I'm fine with going out and getting him however it takes for me. Like, I mean, I'm not going to get wild and crazy, but like, he's the type of guy where I'm fine. Like, I'm usually not fine trading for QBs in a 1 QB. but I believe there was some people asking me about trading for him in leagues, and I'm like,
we talked about it earlier. The quarterback position's a mess too.
Yeah.
Like it's tough to kind of gauge where these guys are going to be. I mean, Justin Fields, he could finish outside top 20 with what's going on. It's pretty wild. You hit that one on the head, dude. You really knocked that one out of the park with Anthony Richardson. So
it makes up for my pits. Makes up for my pits love, right?
Well done. I'll give you another guy, Breece Hall. It hasn't been the greatest start to the season, but we really need to dissect why this happened. Obviously, he was coming off the ACL, and I said this, I think last week. He's coming off the ACL, and we weren't really anticipating him taking a big step the first month of the season, but he had that week 1 where he came out, looked awesome. And then we all kind of thought like, okay, he's back. He's back to Breece Hall from last season. But then we saw some regression, but he also played Dallas, New England, and Kansas City the next 3 weeks. And week 1, he did it against Buffalo. So we had 4 really tough matchups. Aaron Rodgers going down, Zach Wilson trying to get acclimated to the offense, looking terrible. Wilson finally had a decent day against Kansas City this week, and Breece Hall looked good. He had like over 9 yards per carry. They came out today, said that they're going to take away his snap count, so he's fully back to full workload, hopefully. And if Zach Wilson kind of continues to play decent, he doesn't even need to play how he played against Kansas City. Like, he needs to just play decent enough so that they can't stack these boxes against Breece. Breece coming back from that ACL, I think, like I said, I think it's going to take a month and a half for him to get kind of fully back. This week he's got Denver. Okay. This could be the last week where you got that buy low window. He could boom this week, go nuts, and then that door is shut. So you want to get ahead of the curve, get him now before he has that monster week. And Dalvin snaps. Let's look at Dalvin snaps, right? He was 50% week 1. He's all the way down to 25% in the last 2 weeks. Like, he's not a non-factor anymore. Michael Carter, he's getting some run, but Breece had more targets this week than Michael Carter, that's the reason he's there. So if Breece continues to get to work in the pass game, now he's on a full workload, hopefully. I think he can turn into that monster back we all kind of hope he was going to be moving on the back half of the season.
Yeah, I love the call. It was funny because a guy at basketball tonight was actually asking me about Breece. We were talking about it, and he was talking about trying to go make trades for him. And he's like, dude, I got to go get him before this week. Like, he's like, this week against Denver, then the snap count going up. I was like, the report about the snap count going up is going to make it tougher to deal for him for sure, because people are going to they're going to start to get excited. They're going to we see how bad Denver is. They want the snap. They want the extra snaps because Breece hasn't played 50% snaps yet this season. So if he gets that big snap share against Denver and he's 65, healthier.
If he gets 65 against Denver, he's going to eat.
Yeah. So the problem is going to be, the only problem I see is that people now, so before the report, you could probably kind of feed on the uncertainty.
I wrote this down too before that report.
I know you did too. I remember seeing it earlier, and but now I feel like some people are going to almost be banking like the price on expecting it at this point. So yeah, but I do love the call. I like it for sure.
Yeah, I'm willing to, I don't want to say pay up, but I think he's gonna make some noise. If you want my opinion, I think there's gonna be, again, like, it kind of hinges on if Zach Wilson can be halfway decent. Like, if he can be halfway decent, which we saw some progression this week. I think there's some big things ahead for Breece.
I was listening to a podcast earlier. They were talking about like the play call selection by Hackett being so much different this past week compared to before, saying like once Zach Wilson took over, they they basically played right into what defenses expected. Like they knew like this was a team that does not want to pass the ball with Zach Wilson. So you'd see him run it on first and second down, and then they'd get stuff, and then now you're putting Zach Wilson in a long third down, and then and letting defenses just get after him. And it's like that is the worst situation to put yourself in. And then I guess this past week, I don't know if this for sure. I'm taking the word of the guy on the podcast talking about it. But they said that they ran more first down play action than they had all the rest of this season combined.
Mm-hmm.
And
interesting.
It got Zach out of the pocket a little bit, got him on the move. It got the defense like a little bit switched up, opening up more opportunities for him.
Offense.
Yep, exactly. So if they can start doing that and mixing things up more, like I think they can be serviceable enough for like Brees and Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I'm with you. Tiff, when you have a minute, I want your opinion. Would you trade away Drake London and Tony Pollard for Eckler, Najee, and T. Higgins?
This is so tough, dude. Because I know you and I both.
Did they say how long T. Higgins is out?
That's the thing, dude. Because it seems like he's going to be out at least this week, right? And who knows how long?
Honestly, I'd probably do this.
You'd get the Eckler side and Higgins?
I think so. Because right now you can't play Drake London anyways. Pollard and Eckler are kind of a wash, so you're just getting another playable running back. I don't want to say startable.
It's tough because I think if again cop out a little bit, but I think if you're in a situation where you need to win now and right away, you probably have to keep the London Pollard side because Eckler's on bye. Higgins is probably out, so now you're just playing Najee this week out of those, if that. But then you don't know about Higgins, and then plus like with Eckler, I kind of hate like I love Eckler and I think he's gonna be fine, but I hate getting guys back from injury because I don't know how like when they get back, how back are they? And like so, it makes me nervous getting Eckler, knowing that he's coming off injury. And
because I said earlier, I think that they're going to switch at QB in Atlanta. And if they do that, I think London's got a real possibility to be pretty good.
Right. And does that happen before, like, say Higgins misses some games, right? And if he comes back, right, like, well, he's going to come back. But, like, when he comes back, or say he misses a game or two, whatever, is how healthy is he when he's back? Like, so you need
to see your roster.
Yeah, you're getting two injured guys. Like, it's tough to do.
Let's be honest. Like, Najee's
rough, dude.
Is he even playable?
No, dude. Not really. I mean, in this situation, you might have to if you got him, though.
I would rather play Warren. Like, if you can go pick Warren up, I'd rather play him.
Yeah, at this point, honestly. I think if you're in a situation where you're...
your roster.
If you're in a situation where you're about like 3-1 or 4-0, I think it's more doable because you can. Yeah. I think you're then like have some more leeway with waiting on the injured guys. But like if you're 2-2 or less, like you probably just gotta roll with London and Pollard. And like I love Pollard, so it's no knock on that. He's top 2-3 for me.
1 and 3.
She's 1 and 3. I'm probably even just gonna stay.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I'm with you.
Yeah, because Eckler's
on the bye.
The thing is, I think honestly, you can probably revisit this
next week.
Yeah, next week, honestly, because now and then, if Eckler is back healthy, if you're feeling good about it, and then maybe Higgins might be healthier, and then you probably can still get this deal done next week, and get to use London and Pollard, or at least Pollard this week. Trash. It's all right. It's all right, Tiff.
All right, we're there. We got time. Yeah, we'll keep talking to you. Keep sending us ideas. There's some moves to be made. We could work on something
for sure.
Let's get into some sells. Norton, give me a quick sell here. We'll run through these quick because we're running up against time. But we'll get through them.
Kenneth Walker. it's tough because of the landscape of running back. But I love Kenneth Walker, but I also do like Zach Charbonnet, and he seems to be kind of getting more comfortable playing a little bit more. Yeah. Dude, and Zach Charbonnet's had some highlight runs the past couple weeks, just bulldozing dudes. It's fun. He's fun to watch. Yeah. So in the beginning of the season, I was worried that Charbonnet was gonna get the pass work. That was my big worry with Kenneth Walker, where I downgraded him a bit. Then Walker came out and had 5 targets in the first game, 55% route participation, and 18% target share. And so I was like, oh, that is encouraging. But since that point, that game kind of seems like the outlier. He has 5 total targets in 3 games since. His route participation is down to 39% and 7% target share on the season. That includes that first game. So like he's been pretty reliant on big plays and touchdowns. I think he is that kind of player. Like he's gonna bust off a lot of big plays at times. He's a fun guy. Like I like Kenneth Walker. I think he's talented. It's just that these are the kind of running backs that make me nervous, that don't get a lot of pass work. And right now he's running back 6 on the season. And I think you can get a lot for him at this point. So yeah, I'd probably move him, unfortunately.
I like that. I like that call. I think your thought process is great, and how, like you said, with the route participation and all that sort of stuff. Makes sense. You could go get a bag for him too. So
yeah,
makes sense, especially if you're like a 1-3 team and you need some depth and you need some other playmakers. Like you could get some nice pieces out of that.
Yep.
A guy for me, Puka. We talked about Cooper Kupp coming back, and I think there's a lot of question marks revolving around what's going to happen with Cooper Kupp being there. It all depends on what you can get for Puka. Like I think there's still managers out there that's going to pay up for him. And I think there's managers like me where I'm like, I need to see what happens with Cooper Kupp. So it all depends if you have the right person in your league to make this trade work. But I think you can get something decent for him before we see what happens with Cooper Kupp. Because if Cooper Kupp comes in, gets 15 targets, and Puka gets 2, his trade value's gone. Which is it's a possibility that could happen. And again, Cooper, I think he's going to demand at least 10 targets a game, right around there. And then the rest of those targets are fought out between him, Tutu, and Higbee. So like, how's it all going to split up?
Yep. No, I'm with you. I'm more sell than buy. I've been coming around more on him, but the thing is,
good.
Yeah,
he's
dude.
Good.
I think you mentioned earlier with Jonathan Taylor how he's like one of the toughest to value. To me, it's like Jonathan Taylor, Puka, Kyron Williams, those 3 especially. Like, I have such a hard time really valuing like where to value them. Like all the time, I'll get people be like, this guy or Puka or this guy or Jonathan Taylor. I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like, I mean, honestly, it's like I hate saying that to people sometimes, but I'm like, it's so league context dependent and things like that. Like it's so hard to value those guys. So,
and that's the thing, right? Like if I have Jonathan Taylor, you probably took him in 10th round, whatever, something late 8th round, because most drafts happen after he went on PUP. You sat on him, right? You sat on him this whole time. He's been in your IR slot or whatever. I think he was worth holding on to, and now let's see what's going to happen. Right, I think he's going to play this season. He's either going to play with the Colts or he's going to get traded.
Yep.
Either way, he'll end up being, in my opinion, a top 15 back. Right.
Yeah.
Like I think that's comfortable saying that. So you can plug him in, be fine. Kyron? Now Kyron, same. Like his efficiency is not great, but the amount of work that he is getting is undeniable. You picked him off waivers.
Next level, dude.
Him, I'm holding and I'm enjoying the ride. Right? Yep. Like I'm just gonna sit and hold the ride because there's
I am at this point too.
Nobody really behind him either. Like
and nobody's paying up too.
And no one's gonna pay you top dollar for him. Puka, on the other hand, like again, you might not get something like massive for him.
He's been going for first in Dynasty for sure.
Dynasty's a little different for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Because Cooper Kupp's old. Like I think Puka will instantly slide into that Cooper Cup role and he's gone and just be the next Cooper Cup. So that's great. But for this season and redraft purposes, with Cooper Cup coming back, I'm trying to sell him now before that trade value is gone because it's going to go. I think after this week, you're not going to be able to trade him.
Yeah.
And you're going to be stuck holding the bag.
So I'm going to throw out
somebody that he'll have a couple weeks here and there, but I don't think he's going to be playable.
I'm going to throw out some names for you just for people to see where you're valuing them. Puka or DJ Moore rest of the season?
DJ.
Puka or Christian Watson?
Watson. Yeah, Watson, but
okay.
DJ.
Okay. Puka or Hollywood Brown?
Yeah, I would do Hollywood Brown.
Puka or Godwin?
Puka.
Okay.
Because I think that offense falls off a cliff.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Puka for Waddle. Give me Waddle all day.
Give me Waddle all day.
Waddle's above all those guys I named for me.
Give me Waddle all day.
Like, and I love Christian Watson. I still Waddle over Christian Watson.
Yeah, because I make that trade, you run and do it.
It's funny. I was gonna work up to Waddle, but once you already were like quick draw on the other names.
DJ or him.
Man, I guess DJ probably.
I think so.
I love DJ so much, dude.
Yeah, I guess we're kind of the wrong guys to ask that question too, but
I think a lot of people take Puka over DJ Moore, honestly, at this point.
Rest of season, I'm not talking about prior weeks.
Right.
Where do you think Puka slides in? I think he's
30s.
In that like 20 to I think he's like 20 like 24 to 30. Like that slot.
Yeah, that's probably where I'd value him in a wide receiver 3, that 24 to 36 range.
I mean, dude, if you can go get a Waddle, go get Waddle. But if you can go get like DJ Moore, where he's a clear-cut wide receiver 1, and they're actually starting to throw him the ball, like go get him.
Yeah. Puka or Pittman?
That's a good one. That's a very good one.
It's tough because I'm down on Pittman.
Ooh.
I think I'm going Puka first, personally.
That's like right where the line's at, right? Like it's right there. I think they're both interchangeable. Probably Pittman because he's the clear-cut wide receiver 1.
It's fair. It's fair, and I think it's close. So like
I think a lot of Richardson's throwing the ball. Like it's not a he's looking to throw first as opposed to run first.
For sure.
Which is not what I thought it was going to be. So Pittman getting all the target share has been phenomenal. He had a bad week this week, yeah. And I know you're saying trade him while you can. I still think he'll be valuable.
This is a professional segue right here. Puka or my next sell guy, Christian Kirk.
I think I'm going Puka before Zay gets back, but it's it's like comparable, right? Like they're both in. Like Zay's coming back, that's gonna mess with Kirk, and then Cooper Kupp's coming back, and you still have Tutu Atwell there.
Yep. It's Puka for me, for Kirk, obviously.
Yeah, I think Puka.
Yeah, which, like I mentioned, Kirk, my next guy, 3 straight 15-plus point performances. What's the common denominator? And there's been 2 big things in all 3 performances. First, you had Calvin Ridley down games in all 3. You had Zay Jones being out during that span. He was out 2 full games and he left in the second week. So that's had, like, if we look at it, it's had a direct correlation on Kirk's route participation. Week 1, he had a 66% route participation. Week 2, that jumped to 84%, and that's when Zay had like 60-some% route because he left in like the 3rd or 4th quarter injured. The last 2 games, though, without Zay Jones, 91%, 97%. Like, that's a huge spike. Obviously, you already mentioned that Calvin Ridley had down games. So ultimately, the thing is, I expect Zay Jones to return soon, maybe this week. Yeah. When that happens,
looks like it.
Yeah, that route participation is going to tick down again. Like it's just hard for him to be out there that whole time, especially given the rules that they play. Ridley, I think, is also going to do better than what he's done the past few weeks.
This was a weird week, man. 2 targets this week.
I agree. So I am selling Kirk anywhere I have him, which is not many spots, but I would be selling for anything you can at this point.
The whole offense in general is struggling for the Jags. I think they'll figure it out.
Yeah, and not to mention Evan Ingram too is obviously a big factor in the passing game too. So it's like
4.
Yeah, he's been good so far.
Tight end 4 overall. Yeah, he's been consistent. He's been very consistent with what he's getting. He's doing well. Kirk's interesting to me. He is.
Yep.
He's someone that I'm curious to see how it plays out just because we saw what he did last season. And then obviously he comes in this year. Week 1 was terrible. He wasn't on the field a lot. He's playing that slot role specifically.
Yeah, he came out on 2 receiver sets. That was the big thing.
Yeah. Then Zay goes down, and Christian Kirk is a monster again. So it's like, how are they going to play this? Because Christian Kirk looked so good while Zay was out.
Right.
Like, is he just going to slide into that spot? Like, this is going to be an interesting week to see how they split it up.
Mm-hmm.
Or are they going to go to a lot more three wide receiver sets and let Kirk be out there more?
I think they should do that.
So do
I think they should, because I've also seen a lot of data out there where talking about how much better running backs are when it's a 3 wide receiver set, like talking about the efficiency, obviously, because then you're getting a different personnel group for the defense on the field and getting more open lanes, not as congested. So I think spreading the defense out more and putting better playmakers out there.
90% of my offense would be Ridley, Kirk, Zay, and Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
Out there. I guess
why wouldn't you
put your best players on the field?
100%.
But then it's going to be really interesting to see how the target share shapes up. That might really kill Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, so it could.
We'll see. I'm curious to see how the offense plays itself out, but I'm confident they'll figure it out. It's soon. I think they'll be okay.
Yeah.
The last sell for me is somebody we talked about a little bit earlier. I'll kind of keep it short and sweet, but Isaiah Pacheco for me. I've never really trusted Kansas City running backs. And like you said, I think these other running backs are going to get more involved. They like to use interchangeable running backs throughout the year. They're going to do it. We see some of these running backs have very good stretches and then they kind of disappear. CEH had some really good stretches throughout his past 2 seasons and then falls off a cliff and you can't do anything with him. So right now, if I can, I'm trying to sell Pacheco, get somebody I'm more optimistic about the rest of the season that I think is going to hold more value, because I really think Pacheco is going to have stretches where he's not playable at all.
Yep, I am 100% with you. Yeah, like we talked about it earlier, obviously, and I'm 100% agree on your points. And this is a guy that I'd want to cash out while I can. It's the type of running back 100%. Where I'm trying to cash out while I can, while the going is good.
Yeah, do it now before he puts up a 2-pointer, because it's coming. Especially once this passing game gets the passing game's been struggling the past 3 weeks. Honestly, all season hasn't been what we're used to with the Kansas City offense. Once that pass game gets going, these running backs can be a lot less useful for fantasy football. So
yeah,
I'm just expecting the offense to get back to what we've seen previous seasons, and that's more passing, less running back focus, more interchangeable running backs. CEH seems to always show up at some point in vulture touchdowns.
Yeah.
So I just do not trust that running back situation, which is why I was out on Ramondre Stevenson coming into this season, because I just don't trust that running back situation.
Fair.
The team specifically, like Kansas City Patriots running backs, I usually don't go for, just because we see it time after time how they use them. The data's there with those head coaches and how they use their running backs now. I'm out. Sell now after these 2 really nice weeks, and you could probably get something decent for him.
Yeah, for sure.
Nort, before we go, anything else?
Not much. No. Hopefully another good week coming up.
Another good week. We will be getting you ready for tomorrow's game. Me and Mario will be live tomorrow at 7:00. We'll be on here getting you ready for game time. and doing DFS, stuff like that. So hop in. That will be a fun one. And then we will be back Sunday afternoon, an hour before the games, getting you ready for those last start sit questions. So be sure to be there. Tiff, send over any trade ideas because we're here to help you out. You got our GMs, you know what to do. For me, I'm Rob. That's Nort. This is the Dad Bod.
Thank you for watching our episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
If you aren't already following us on Twitter, check us out at DadBodFS.
We'll be posting all of our best clips and videos to all of our social media: TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. You can find us on there at DadBod Fantasy Squad.
Lastly, if you'd rather just listen, we make sure we post our audio of each episode on all the major streaming platforms. Stick with us all season long so together we can count our trophies and not our calories.